Welcome back to Bird's Eye View. When it comes to the Orioles, this weekly podcast is your official source for a lack of insight and for baseless opinion. Today is April 9th, 2026, and this is episode 425. My name is Scott Magnus.
And this is Jake English.
On this week's episode, we're going to ask the Baltimore Orioles, do you really want to hurt me?
We'll also talk a little bit and try not to be shocked about sports aesthetics. And we're going to start that right now because, Scott, a lot of ink has been spilled. A lot of emotes have happened on the internet. And so I don't want to go too deep, but the Orioles unveiled their City Connects. They're exactly what we expected. Were there any surprises for you in the new kits that were unveiled today?
No, except for like the amount of varieties that are on the Fanatics site. I mean, I saw everything from like bomber jackets to all kinds of little things. So like Fanatics obviously has gone all in. I also heard that we're going to get more drops with City Connect variations from all the other subsidiaries by next week, like Nike and stuff like that as well.
Are you insinuating that this is just one big cash grab?
Welcome to capitalist America. Yeah, it's all one big cash grab. But no big surprises here.
What would you grade these City Connects? Well, first of all, what would you have graded the last City Connects, and then what would you grade this?
Sure. So the last City Connects I would have graded a solid B to B minus.
Okay.
Not terrible. Not my thing. Mm-hmm. Appreciate what they were going for. I didn't get it. I didn't buy anything. My son did. He bought a hat. Really wanted a uniform. I promptly turned it down once I saw the prices.
They're a lot cheaper now.
They were very cheap at the end of the last year. And he said, can I get one? And I said, they're not going to be the uniform next year. Do you still want them? And he says, I'll hold off and look at the new ones. But yeah, I mean, I think I would give the last ones B to B minuses. This one, I'm going to give it a solid B plus. I think it's an improvement over the last ones. Still probably not my thing.
That's fair. I would have given the old ones a solid B minus.
Yeah.
I give these a C minus.
Ooh. C minus is pretty low.
I said on Blue Sky today, the old ones were fine.
Mm-hmm.
These are bordering fine.
Okay.
I do not consider them to be good. They're not heinous.
Okay.
But they are, to me, exceedingly uninteresting.
I think I saw some skeets in terms of things that you liked and things that you didn't like. Give me a quick rundown. Like what drops it out of the honor roll per se?
I don't like B more to begin with. And the fact that it's in big, boring blocks does nothing for me.
Yeah.
I don't like...
So you don't mind the verbiage. You just don't like...
No, I don't like either of them.
Okay.
I don't like B more. If it weren't going to be Baltimore, I would like Charm City.
Okay.
Or the greatest city in America.
City Reads.
That's right. I do not care for the Dark Ages bird.
Mm-hmm.
There is no reason to bring that back.
Is it the Dark Ages bird?
It's the 1998 bird.
Okay.
If you're going to give us a realistic looking bird, give me the Ripken bird, right? Give me the ornithologically correct bird. There is at least some inkling of good feelings. That bird that they put on that uniform was with us from 98 to 2011.
Yeah, not many good years there.
No.
Yeah,
no,
not many good years there.
Not a big fan of the green and orange. That's not a good color combination.
You've never liked green for the Orioles.
No.
Yeah, you've always hated green for the Baltimore Orioles.
It's very true. If they were going to go green, I would have preferred no orange on the jersey. I think I would have liked them okay if it was like green and then a color that goes well with green.
Yeah. So the vibe I get when I first saw them, spoiled to me many weeks ago. When I saw them, I was just like, the first thing that popped in my head was like, all right, definite 90s vibes. The other thing that I thought about was it reminded me very similar to the Ushers when the park first opened.
Okay.
From a color scheme standpoint.
I get that.
I'm okay with it. I get the understanding of the green in there. It is one of your tertiary colors. As much as you hate it, it's a tertiary color for the Orioles. The orange that is being used is definitely I actually made a joke today. For a city that loves egg custard snowballs as much, it reminds me of egg custard. But it's not a bad standpoint. And again, it's got Cream, which is, ultimately a better band than the Beatles at the end of the day. So
they are the sunshine of your love. I think the Cream is a good look. I think the patch with the plaque is clever.
Sure.
I like that. It's very nice. I think that the B is a nice touch. I love that it's a homage to the stadium. What I think is weird about this set is that it seems to be more a stadium connect than a city connect.
I think many people have made that comment. Yeah.
And it's not for me. I do wonder aloud, who are these uniforms for? And I think this is a grab at old white people?
Oh, I don't think so.
No?
No, I don't think so. I think this is and this is why I wanted to ask the question to your son, because the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to go home and ask my son, like, what do you think? Because I think this is a grab to the younger generation. And I'll tell you why. What kind of music is your son listening to right now?
He listens to 90s music.
Yeah. Kids of that kind of, like, call it teenage years, and are loving the 90s as of right now. So I'm wondering if this was more geared to a younger generation. I don't think anybody our age and or older is like, oh wow, I'm going to go out and spend a ton of money. Although I know a lot of folks today that did go out and spend a ton of money, but I don't think this was geared towards them.
You know what? This is starting to make sense, especially when you consider that the Orioles offense is pop-up Orioles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so uniforms.
Pop Orioles.
Nice.
No problem.
Uniforms unveiled today. I'm not a huge fan.
I'm okay with it. Let's let it see. Most importantly, they're going to play with it on Fridays going forward. If their record is better than the previous version, maybe you will become a fan of it.
Maybe I will. And maybe the glory of the new uniforms will drip out of the Truist Club onto me, and my heart will grow 3 sizes that day.
You're really big on this Truist Club standpoint.
I really am. I may never forgive them.
Yeah. So if you were to be invited to the Truist Club, you would turn it down, obviously, right?
Of course I'd go. Of course I'd go.
Just remember, there will always be tickets waiting for you at the Sheraton.
Also, money in the banana stand. All right, is there anything else that we need to get into before we go around the base?
No, let's go off of the on-deck circle and out of the clubhouse from our uniforms and take it first base. And let's talk about Culture Club. The question has been posed, do the Orioles have a culture problem?
I want to be careful here.
Okay.
I'm not positing this definitively.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying the Orioles have a culture problem. But I do want to ask the question because when we look at what is plaguing the Orioles, some of it goes beyond just play on the field.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look at specific instances, and again, there are 12 games, and so you're going to pick everything apart, and maybe this fades into background noise the more and more games that happen. But you look at little things like Tyler O'Neill not running out of ball.
Yep.
And being
multiple times.
right. And getting away with it because Austin Hayes hurt himself. You look at an instant like what happened with Bradish the other day on the mound.
Throwing a temper tantrum.
There are probably others that I'm not specifically thinking about right now. Those are the things that leap out to me. I think a little bit about, some of the reactions when Gunnar was not going great, and the way he would visibly react to at-bats. Yep. Brandon Hyde was fired when his very talented team underperformed. Right? And this is not me carrying water for Brandon Hyde, but newly minted manager Craig Alvernaz comes on, someone I want to be successful, somebody I'm looking forward to watching manage this ball club. But one of the things that he said was the thing that all new managers say, which is, we're going to go back to fundamentals. We're going to focus on fundamentals. This is going to be a fundamentally sound baseball club.
Yep.
And I'd argue it's not.
I think there are moments that we have seen so far that are questionable, but pulling back the curtain, you and I have both managed teams. We have both entered into workplaces that we have entered into and come across, we'll call it teams or team members that maybe have fallen into bad habits, and to expect miracles to happen in the first 30, 60, 90 days is probably impossible. What I have been really encouraged by is when those moments have happened, when bad habits have been seen on the field, both the manager and the players have stepped up and said, that can't happen. And it's not just, we're going through the motions. It's just, that can't happen. And I'm going to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And at the end of the day, that's all I want to see is that accountability piece. It has to change eventually, but you can mess that up once, twice, even 3 times, but eventually you have to show accountability as the season progresses. If it doesn't change, then we'll have another conversation about this in the future. For me, we're still in mid-April. We're still coming out of spring training to a certain regard. I'm going to give the team the benefit of the doubt, but I have enjoyed seeing a little bit of a verbal accountability as opposed to whatever last year was from it. And that isn't meaning to hide. I'm talking about management as a whole of just going through the motions. So I've actually been somewhat encouraged from a culture basis in terms of, I don't like the bad moments, but I've enjoyed seeing people say, we've got to do better and we can't act like that.
Yeah, you had to love what you heard from Bradish after that game.
Of course.
It was immediate and definitive. So what we're seeing in moments of either boneheadedness or moments where effort or focus flags is not a systemic problem, but rather the type of things that come and go.
I think it's definitely a systemic problem. It's the question of how quickly can you change culture? Again, you don't just put a new boss into a workplace and say, oh, culture has changed. It takes time and it takes reinforcement and it takes sustainable practices. So I'm sure Bradish and O'Neill were pulled aside and talked to, and I'm sure that they will be under scrutiny both in games and outside of it of how are they preparing and how are they going about their day in and out based business. Personally, I mean, we'll get to it a little bit with the pitching situation, but I think this might be a good wake-up call for Bradish. Bradish has certainly not been on his A game from a control standpoint for the beginning of the season. Maybe this is the kick in the butt he needed to really be like, all right, get back to, what we say from a management standpoint, brilliant basics.
Well, I mean, I think you've teed us up perfectly to round and head into second base. I'm going to call second base pitching yikes. Mm-hmm. First, let's just start at the top with Zach Eflin.
Oof,
man,
brutal.
What a bummer.
Brutal.
What a bummer. From a human standpoint, it is so disappointing. Zach Eflin is a guy that's so easy to root for.
Yeah.
I was really frustrated with the Orioles' approach in the offseason. But if you're going to get a guy like Zach Eflin, and he's going to be one of the bottom end starters, I think that's a great lottery ticket.
Yeah.
I really wanted him to be successful. I'm so bummed that his season has ended so soon.
And the season is over, and probably next season is over from a Tommy John standpoint. So if he doesn't pitch next season, he'll be entering into the 2028 season at age 34. I don't want to say he's done because I don't think he's done, but I think, he's going to have to completely change who he is as a person from a career standpoint.
Let me put on a marketing hat here. Mm-hmm. He's an old guy with a young arm. He's an old guy with his second young arm.
Yeah, he's an old guy that has a second arm and has not really pitched multiple full seasons. So he could be Kyle Bradish, in the future, basically.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal from a human standpoint, and it's brutal for the Orioles, who were thin already. I do want to talk about what I consider to be a bright spot, and you can tell me if I'm full of it, as you're usually pretty good at doing. I think what we saw this week with Brandon Young and with Cade Povich was a really good indication that the Orioles' pitching depth on the periphery is actually pretty good if it is on the periphery. And what I mean by that is Cade Povich came up because of an injury, and he gave this ball club 5 2/3 innings in junk time that shouldn't have mattered, but he saved the bullpen.
Saved the bullpen.
He absolutely.
How many times have we not seen people save the bullpen?
And, Brandon Young comes up and makes a perfectly serviceable major league start. It's not like it was the most wonderful thing that we've ever seen, but he came up and he gave this team a good chance, and that's all you want. If that was happening every once in a while, I think that would be a strength of this ball club. My concern is that these guys can't be leaned on for very long.
No.
And that's when the exposure is going to happen, to say the periphery might be good, but the periphery cannot be pushed into the rotation on a regular basis.
No, I mean, we talked about it before the season starts. You need, in general, most seasons, 10 starting pitchers.
Sure.
And I think, Brandon Young and Cade Povich serving as, back-end starting pitchers of like an SP 7-8 or an 8-9, perfectly fine. But you're absolutely right. Like, you can't have Cade Povich and Brandon Young going out there and throwing 15 to 20 starts. They need to be coming up and doing spot starts. If Cade Povich has, 5 to 8 starts and Brandon Young has, we'll call it 3 to 5, that's perfectly acceptable, but it can't be really more than that. Simple as that. I think the question now is, you came into the season with 6 starting pitchers that you felt pretty good about. Mm-hmm. You're now down to 5. Your 5th starting pitcher is still in Norfolk.
What is the deal with that?
What's the deal with Dean Kramer?
Do they need to put Dean Kramer on a milk carton? Why can't they find him and bring him up here?
So I think Dean Kramer will be up next week. I think he'll be up on Monday. I just don't think everything aligned up from where they wanted to have him come up.
Did he make a joke that didn't land with Albie and Mike Elias? Did he step in it? What is going on?
I think this just comes back to scheduling. I think that's all this is. I think it's just a scheduling, and It's not like Dean Kramer certainly is good in April historically, so I don't think it's a major rush. But yeah, I think Dean Kramer will be up and starting either Monday or Tuesday's game.
I'm hoping.
I don't think there's any hope. I think it's going to happen.
He is a qualified major league starter, which is what this rotation needs. I've been very surprised with Kyle Bradish in his return.
Yeah.
Looks very shaky.
Command.
Well, command. Let's. I'm going to steal an item here from a later base. I feel like in cold conditions in Chicago, it is possible to look at that series and say the pitchers were not having their best games. A lot of high misses, particularly from the whole staff.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if maybe I need to temper my expectations there. But in 2 starts from Kyle Bradish, I don't feel like I've seen Kyle Bradish.
I think it still comes back to command. I mean, if you look at, again, we'll come back to the stuff plus standpoint. Bradish is still doing pretty well from a stuff plus basis, like we were talking with Thomas Nasisko at TJ Stats. So the stuff is still there. The velocity's been a little weird at times. I mean, he's been at 95, but then it'll flirt down a little bit in some instances. So that's something to keep an eye on. But I think this just comes back to location. I mean, you can have great movement, you can have that stuff standpoint, but if you can't locate it, then it doesn't matter. So I think, Bradish is getting a feel for it. When we watched him during spring training, it looked like he had command. It looked like he had his stuff. I was extremely excited for Bradish. I made some apropos bold predictions like everyone does on it.
Oh, is that a preseason thing in sports talk?
Apparently. It hasn't been good with Bradish. I look at the underlying metrics, though, behind Bradish, and I say it's going to get better before long. Hopefully, also, like you said, as it gets warmer, it'll get better. I'm not super concerned on Bradish, but yeah, I'm keeping an eye just to see when does he get his command back.
Sure. Okay. And we have to talk about Chris Bassett.
Oh, yeah.
Another not great start from him. How concerned are you? It's really easy to look at Bassett's 4 starts and immediately think of a Gibson and immediately think...
Yeah, this is Gibson Morton territory.
Do you think that it's likely that that's where this is heading, or do you think this is a bad stretch?
I haven't seen anything that impressed me so far. Like, there hasn't been anything. It looks very Gibson and Morton-esque. I could see them easily saying, we need to push you back to the bullpen, but in reality, you really can't do that right now because you're down pitchers already. So I'm concerned. Bassett is the one pitcher right now in the rotation in the bullpen that concerns me.
It's interesting because I think if this was happening in a vacuum, if it was just him struggling.
If it was just him struggling and Eflin did not get hurt, I'd be like, we'll figure it out. It's not a big deal. The fact that Eflin got hurt now leaves us in a precarious position of like, all right, well, Bassett has to figure it out or else we're in Cade Povich, Brandon Young territory, which is not where we want to be at this moment.
The critique, my criticism from the offseason was that the starting rotation was built so that you had to hope that things swung right. Mm-hmm. And they're not. Not enough of them are.
Not enough of them are. Well, I mean, let's give credit where credit's due. Trevor Rogers has still been really, really good. Yeah. Like really, really good. Shane Baz has been showing that high upside that we would expect of, again, maybe not an ace, but I would say a 2 or 3.
A $13 million man for sure.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, if Rogers pitches the way he has, Baz is pitching, as a 2 or 3, and Bradish can refigure it back out, then you're left with 4 and 5. And if your 4 and 5 is Dean Kramer coming up, and then you just have a 5th that you're swinging between Bassett, Povich, Trey Gibson will probably come up eventually in the future. I don't think it's terrible. I mean, you would love to have, another ace in there. And, I think the Orioles will probably go get one other additional individual by the trade deadline. But I think, for the first half of the season, I don't think you're in a bad situation. Is it playoff worthy? I'd probably say no. You wanted one more player, and that's what we kept talking about during the offseason. Like, you really want an ace. I still think they're going to go out and make a trade at the trade deadline to really solidify someone to pitch in game 1 of a playoff series.
And the other thing I want to stress here is that I'm not saying that it can't work.
Sure.
I'm just saying that it's not working right now in a small microscopic piece of the season, and that it's not crazy to see that that's happening. Right? Like, it was pretty predictable.
Well, let's just say it this way. I mean, when Corbin Burns was pitching for the team, you watch that and you're like, all right, that's what we've been missing for a long time. Like that's a person that is a stopper in the rotation that you felt good every 5 days of being like, we have a really good chance of winning this game. If a typical win percentage odds is, 53%, I feel like we're at 60 to 65% with Corbin Burnes on the mound. And that's what I think you're missing right now is you're missing that, I wouldn't say guarantee, but you're missing that feel good of I have a higher degree of confidence going into this game than I do other games.
And I will also say that the rotation success does at some point depend on the production that they get from the lineup. So let's turn to third base.
Sure.
Let's talk a little bit about the lineup. What a pleasant surprise has Taylor Ward been?
Grayson Rodriguez who?
Yeah, he is lighting up the gas can there in the right-hand batter's box. He's in fuego right now.
He's in fuego, and he's doing exactly what he was predicted to do, which is hit extra base hits. At the very beginning of the season, for those first few games, he was not great whatsoever. I mean, he wasn't getting on base. He was striking out a ton, and people were like, why is this guy leading off? What do the Orioles see in him? And this is what the Orioles see in him. They see him as a table setter to get on, extra base hits. I still do like what they did where they have Gunnar in the number 1 spot and Taylor Ward in the 2nd spot. That's the way I would play it as well. Not against Taylor Ward in number 1 spot, but I do like that change. And like I said, Taylor Ward being on the stretch of, being in fuego is nice, especially considering that other players have been scuffling as of late, such as like Pete Alonso.
Talk to me about Pete Alonso. What do you think is going on there?
I think it's just a matter of time. I think you look at the balls that he's hitting, you look at the exit velocity, you look at his swing speeds and stuff like that. I think it is only a matter of time before he goes in fuego, just like Taylor Ward. And it's going to be, similar if you think back to the Buckle Up Birds era, where like when a Chris Davis or Mark Reynolds went on a tear, you're going to be like, holy cow, this guy is absolutely amazing. No wonder we're paying him so much money.
Do you think it's just a matter of the circumstances in the early part of the season, et cetera, et cetera? Do you think that there's a part of it that he might be pressing, trying to? I'm
sure he's pressing us slightly, but I think that it's early in the season. We're not even 15 games through. I'm not looking too much in it, but again, the underlying metrics all look good from a basis for Pete Alonso. I think he's just waiting for his moment.
Fair.
In time.
How many moments in time?
Just one.
Just one. All right.
Yeah,
got it.
Just
got
one.
It, got it. Big fan of the 90s, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Is Adley Rutschman, dare I say, is Adley Rutschman back?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes?
Absolutely, yes.
From your lips to the baseball god's ears.
I mean, if you look at the swing path, and we talked about this for multiple seasons now, like Adley got into this habit of that loopy swing. He is not a home run hitter. You can watch him hit for power, and it always is like warning track power. Adley is not a home run hitter. Adley is a great hit it in the gap and get doubles hitter. Circa Brian Roberts, circa Nick Markakis. Actually heard Brian Roberts on the radio today, and it's just like, yeah, that's my boy. But yeah, I mean, Adley looks like he has that line drive swing once again. If it goes for a home run, great, but he's going to take doubles wherever he can get it and just spray the ball. So I think Adley is absolutely back.
He looks great. And even when the results aren't there, the swing path. The eye test.
The swing path. It's all about the swing path. And again, he is making good decisions. He's taking the appropriate swing pass. Yeah, he's going to get out. Any player is going to get out. But he is doing the right things at the plate right now from a swing path basis.
Here's somebody that's earning some playing time. Leody Taveras is earning playtime every time Colton Cowser comes to the plate.
Yeah.
That's been really disappointing. The thing is with Colton Cowser is that he doesn't have to be that good.
No.
In a lineup with what Taylor Ward has become and Gunnar Henderson and Pete Alonso and Adley Rutschman when he's on and Samuel Basayo and I mean, he doesn't have to be that good. He has to be a 7, 8, 9 hole hitter on a pretty good offense. He has been terrible.
Yeah, he's been absolutely terrible. Almost to the point where, again, if he continues to be this terrible, it really starts to raise the question of there has to be something better than this. I know people love Colton Cowser. My youngest, that's her favorite player because she likes to moo when we go to the stadium. But you have to look at it and be like, man, if you can't hit a changeup and everyone in the league knows it, we're going to have to send you down to the minors in order to see if you can figure it out. And we're going to bring up somebody else to get a shot, or we're going to put Dylan Beavers in center field and see if he can make it happen.
I have an idea.
Okay.
Orioles center fielder. goes down to the minors, all the way down to Double A, just gets humbled, rebuilds his offense, comes back, becomes an all-star,
and we trade him for Anthony Nunez.
and eventually gets traded to the Rays. I'm just saying, we've seen this story before.
Yeah, we've seen it before. I don't think we're quite at that point of sending Cowser down, but I think that if this precludes into May, it may not be a bad idea to be like, hey, we're going to give you a 2 or 3 week period just to kind of regroup yourself and bring somebody up.
Dylan Beavers had a very embarrassing drop in center, loss of the ball in center field. Can he handle center?
No.
Because of that, or just
No, he can't play center field. I can tell you that right now. Why not go and give like Judd Fabian a shot for a few weeks and see what happens? Don't bring up Enrique Bradfield. Enrique Bradfield's not ready. He needs a bunch of seasoning in AAA. Enrique Bradfield might be ready in August, but Enrique Bradfield is not your individual right now. But
I'm worried that Colton Cowser needs some seasoning in AAA.
well, I think he might. I mean, I think that's what I'm saying is like, I think it's too early to state that right now, but I would say like, if you have him continuing to fail and we get to mid-May, I think it might be an opportunity to be like, you're going to go on the IL or we're going to option you and we're going to basically have you regroup for a second mentally.
I'm concerned about the structural integrity of his Lego set.
Yeah. I'm really hoping Cowser can figure it out, but the data set is pretty big on this one to be like, the league has a book out on him at this point.
Also, if the lineup starts to become more prolific, the lineup does some of the things that we think the lineup can do, well, at that point, you can hide him struggling in the 9-hole for a little while. Not forever, but for a little while to try to figure himself out.
For a little bit, yes.
When you're trying to find a spark,
yeah,
that's not the time
That's
that
not
a
the
guy
time.
can figure stuff out.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of some struggles, the Orioles have had a bit of rispy business lately. Yikes. They tried to sandbag the other day. They left 11 on base, and it turns out that you can't add one to the runs column once you get into double digits and left on base. Someone should tell Mark DeRosa so that he can share that with the Orioles. I don't know. Is it just a thing that's happening now? Is it a short-term thing? Is it something that concerns you? Because we've seen Orioles clubs before that just couldn't deliver in the clutch.
So the runners in scoring position doesn't really concern me. The strikeout rate is probably what keeps me up right now. And just being like, are they striking out too much early in the season? But the runners in scoring position doesn't really bother me. I mean, we saw with this just last game in against the White Sox, again, they started to get some of those clutch hits. It's been so early in the season. I'm not going to write this off as a trend. The K rate, something to watch out for. Does this again become another 3 true outcome team of they're either going to K, they're going to walk, or they're going to hit home runs when we get into summertime? That's the thing that I want to keep an eye on of what does their K percentage look like as relative to the rest of the league.
Hey, do you want to see them avoid striking out, or do you want to see them hit some dingers?
Dingers.
There you go.
Yeah.
The Orioles, by the way, have averaged in very short 12 games, 3 3/4, 3.75 runs per game.
All right.
So under the average of the last couple of years.
Where does that rank in the rest of the league though right now?
I don't know where it ranks for the league. I know that the average for the last 2 years is 4.2 and 4.4.
I realize that, but I think I saw a stat today indicating that like right now, early in the season, there has never been a portion of the least amount of home runs in the first like 2 weeks of the season. I do think offenses right now a little weird across the league. I mean, you just saw the A's shut out the Yankees today. That's going to happen to any team. I think we're seeing a little bit more weirdness going about.
And was it the White Sox that took care of business against the Blue Jays before we came to town?
The White Sox, I believe, swept the Blue Jays, right? Yeah. I think there's some weirdness abound. Again, very small sample sizes. Let's see what happens over time. I'm not so concerned about runners in scoring position. K percentage and swing decisions are a little bit more interesting to me at this moment.
All right. I'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah.
Let's round third. Let's head to home. I want to say something about perspective. We keep talking about the fact that it's only 12 games. It's a small sample size. There's not really a whole lot that. Here is a thing that I noticed. The Orioles played 3 games against the Pittsburgh Pirates. It was a weekend series. A lot of people watched those games, and the Orioles did not win any of them. That's a bummer, right? Sweeps happen. When it is a third of the season that's available to you, it gets magnified, right? The Orioles immediately go to the Windy City, where they have 3 games, 2 of which are day games.
Yep.
And I would bet my left arm that means that fewer people watched the Orioles games.
I certainly had a harder time watching on Tuesday and Wednesday with work going on.
And I think that also helps build to the perception of the season, right? The Orioles, fans watch the Orioles lose 3 games.
Yep.
And then many of them read about the wins later instead of watching and witnessing them. And I think that has an impact on how people feel about the season.
Sure.
Again, this is a short-term problem.
Mhm.
But the mood of the fan, I would not say super confident right now.
Absolutely not. I was actually telling my wife this. I am not a big fan of spring holidays. And I'll tell you why I'm not a big fan of spring holidays, because every single time I get together with her family on spring holidays, they're just like, well, Scott's a major Orioles fan. I'm going to ask him, what's wrong with the Baltimore Orioles? And like, I knew this team was not going to be very good, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, all right, yeah, it's Easter Sunday. And yeah, they played about 10 games. So like, if you're able to predict the rest of the baseball season, we need to get you into a front office somewhere. And I know what bets you've made on FanDuel or SportsGeek or whatever betting platform that you've done. And yeah, your car situation, your housing situation has not greatly improved. So, you know, your insight and foresight into the future is not that great.
That's not where I thought you were going with this.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to tell me that you weren't a big fan of spring holidays because of how the Orioles performed on days like Easter and Mother's Day.
So you're right. I point this out as well. Like typically the Orioles do not do great on spring holiday situations. However, I remember the Mother's Day Massacre. I remember again sitting with my wife, my family during the Mother's Day Massacre and being like, let's just not talk about this. Let's just not talk about it. Let's just move on. But again, we also have like moments like, you know, the Orioles winning in Boston with Chris Davis pitching on Mother's Day. So like there are some fun moments.
That was a Mother's Day game?
Yeah, it was a Mother's Day game.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a Mother's Day game.
I watched that game.
Because I kept telling my wife, I was like, listen, I know it's Mother's Day, but this is important.
There will be other Mother's Days.
There'll be other Mother's Days. You'll never see this again. We need to watch this. This is important. And such started in my season of celibacy.
Do we know? Sorry, non sequitur. Do we know who the Orioles will
Do you have any segue to my celibacy?
Yes, always. I've got a whole list.
Yeah.
Do we know who the Orioles are going to throw on the mound when they need a position player to pitch?
I
I feel like it is not a slam dunk.
I don't know if we have a name just yet. Yeah, I don't think we have a name yet.
I don't want us to fall behind in a big way. I want us to be up a ton so that we can see. But I'm really curious.
Yeah.
I'm really, really curious.
Yeah, I don't know who it would be off the top of my head. I mean, I think if you were to look at the current bench right now, like I think they would go Jeremiah Jackson and be like, go throw the ball.
I feel like Blaze Alexander would be fun.
I think Blaze Alexander would be fun, but I don't think they would risk Blaze Alexander. How about that?
Fair. So here at Home Plate, I just want to say, you know, perspective and visibility is a thing. One other note, I may express myself emotionally during baseball games on social media. Yeah. But that is not a lack of excitement. I am both the highest of highs and the lowest of lows during a single game. And when that game is over, I wipe the memory banks, and I am excited still when we lose to go back and watch tomorrow's baseball game. Now,
let me ask you this.
Talk to me again in July.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately because, again, I think I posted after the walk-off win. Interesting mood in the room. It's a long season. It's not going to be that bad. People are just like, oh, it's terrible. We've seen this all before, blah, 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 blah. But you just said, you know, you're an emotional being. You like to post emotionally. I think I know, but I'm going to ask the question, why do you post emotionally?
I think I'm able to better name the feeling.
Okay.
Right. I'm better able to deal with it.
Okay.
And also, you know, highs as well. I mean, I'm a big fan of you know, celebrating with the rest of Birdland when the games are going well, when they're really exciting. We haven't had quite as much of that. But again, are the Orioles at 500 at this point?
Yeah, they're a 500 team right now.
Right.
One of only 4 teams in the American League right now that are above 500.
So we've seen some frustrating games. We've seen some fun games. We've seen 12 games.
Yep. So you post, express, and put an exclamation point on your emotions.
Sure.
Praise to Allah.
Oh, man. I didn't know where that was going, and it was so much worse. It was so much worse. Oh man! Can you imagine for a moment if I created my own social media platform for Orioles tomfoolery?
It has been done before. But this is why we hang out, right?
Oh man! It would just be like Snark Social. Oh Lord!
You would be like, Brandon Hyde, if you do not fix the situation currently with the lineup, I will bring terror and disaster and destruction to this organization that has never been seen before.
I knew this team was bound for greatness. They said, "Sir."
Jake's like, why do you do this? Why do you do this on this podcast?
There was none of this last week.
There's none of this tomfoolery or anything. Like, you come back on this podcast and you immediately take the show notes and you twist it and rub it in my face.
There was none of this one your way. You were okay. Let me try
to get some composure back here.
Before we go to Good and Bad and the Ugly, you were on the West Coast.
Yeah.
You were like watching anti-West Coast baseball.
Yeah, it was like there was one game where they were playing at like 12:35, and I was in Disneyland, everyone. And I'm like in the park, and I get a notification pop up on my MLB app at 9 o'clock, and I'm like, well, that's extremely weird. I understand why I'm getting it, but that is extremely weird to get a notification that a game is about to start at 9 o'clock. So again, I had a greater appreciation for, our overseas individuals that are listening, those of you in the UK that listen to us, those of you in Australia that listen to us. But yeah, just weird. And again, maybe that's just me being in my cultural bubble. But again, I've been to Europe before and watched Orioles games, and it's just like, yeah, it's a 5 or 6 hour difference depending on what time zone you're in. That one doesn't feel so weird because I get a notification at midnight and I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch a little bit. I don't know. Games starting at 9 o'clock was weird, but again, I'm used to it as well for watching Premier League. Premier League games are coming on at 8 or 9 o'clock for me. It shouldn't be that weird to me, but for some reason, it really threw me off.
No dongs after dark. It's like bombs with biscuits.
It's Morningwood.
Oh, jeez. Again, walk directly into it.
Don't walk directly into Morningwood.
Did not see it coming. Wait, nope, never mind.
Yeah.
We're going to drop it right there. That's around the bases. And when we come back, we'll do the good. We'll do the bad. We'll do the ugly. Scotty, it's good to have you back. This is the first Good and Bad and the Ugly that we've been together for the 2026 season. I'll go ahead and get started. This is a weird one, I think. My good for this past week is Ryan Mountcastle.
What?
Yeah, my good is Ryan Mountcastle because I think that he's doing just fine with his limited appearances. He's coming off the bench. He's getting an occasional start. And I didn't think that was going to work. I really didn't. And it's been fine. He had a 106 weighted runs created plus this past week in part timing, and for what the Orioles need from him, it's fine. And I think that's good.
I don't know. I look at Ryan Mountcastle and I look at, so far in the season, again, super early part of the season, 70 weighted runs created plus and less than a 600 OPS. But again, he's doing better than Pete Alonso right now. So I guess, just ride or die with Ryan Mountcastle. I'm going to go give it up to Taylor Ward. Taylor Ward, I think, has just been really impressive past weekend so far to start the season. I've been really impressed just with the extra base hits. He's had a serviceable standpoint from an outfield standpoint. I wouldn't say it's great. But Taylor Ward definitely deserves a little bit of a kudos just in terms of how he has come onto this team and really helped to establish the top of the order. So Taylor Ward gets my good for the week.
Well deserved. My bad is going to go to the circumstances of an early sweep to dull the excitement of the early part of the season. You mentioned that we are one of the few teams that's at or above 500. I really think, I think that the mood of the fan base would be a little different if there weren't that ugly sweep to the Pirates, under the microscope.
Yeah. My bat's going to go to Kobe Mayo. He has had the opportunity to kind of shine, not been very impressed with plate appearances. Again, he's had some pretty decent defensive performances early in the season, but offensively at the plate, a complete nothing burger. Jackson Holliday is probably going to be coming up in the very near future. If it's not, again, this series, it should be at some point next week. When that happens, I don't see why you wouldn't potentially put Blaze Alexander at third base. I've been really impressed with Blaze Alexander, both on the base path, but also I think defensively he's been really impressive. I think Blaze can play other positions besides third base, and you can get Mayo in there on occasion. But I think I want to see more Blaze Alexander than I do Kobe Mayo right now. So Kobe Mayo is my bad. He has a chance to still recertify himself of being like, yep, I'm going to be that player. I don't think he's going to go to Norfolk anytime soon. But yeah, Kobe Mayo is my bad right now. And he's got to figure it out sooner rather than later, or else he will be going back to Norfolk.
My ugly, we've talked about it, but my ugly is going to go to the Zach Eflin injury. I'm just so bummed for the Orioles, but more so for Eflin himself. What a just gut punch. As soon as it happened, you knew, but having it come to fruition and be real just sucks. Just sucks.
My ugly is going to go to something that you kind of pseudo mentioned. It's this standpoint of exposure to the team. I'm not feeling all these national games that we're all of a sudden getting. We are going to get another weekend of Friday night Apple TV, Saturday night Fox broadcast. We've got one of the best, we'll call it broadcasting teams in baseball. If I'm going to be home on the weekend on Friday and Saturday, I want to be able to turn into the game if I'm not going to the game and be like, all right, I'm going to get to listen to Kevin Brown, Jim Palmer, Ben McDonald, and kind of hear the sights and sounds in the color commentary. And I'm just not going to get that. Very disappointing. I'm really hoping that this matriculation of national games starts to wane out in the future. That to me is my ugly. Give me Kevin, Ben, and Jim any day over national broadcast.
Are the Orioles just getting their fair share, or are the Orioles getting a lot of national games?
I think it's just fair share. I think it's just fair share. I mean, like this weekend it's against the Giants, so it makes a ton of sense. San Francisco major media, like it's good opportunity to kind of broadcast that on national TV.
I just look at the Orioles and I think if I'm Major League Baseball, the way that they've been the last couple of years, that's not a marquee team to...
I think if it was Orioles versus, again, the White Sox, probably not going to happen. But I think if it's Orioles versus the Giants, or again, we're going to see this in a future weekend series, we're going to see Orioles versus Red Sox. I'm sure that Orioles-Red Sox series is going to have at least one national game on it again. Pardon me for wanting to play maybe subpar teams on the weekend. I do want the weekends to potentially be a little bit more mass and heavy than the national broadcast. That's my ugly, just as a personal preference on my own.
All right, Scotty, blowing the save. It's that time of year where I want to just give a thanks for outside of the podcast. As I've mentioned a couple times, I have the distinct pleasure to be involved in the Upper Chesapeake Baseball Festival. That is a tournament series that raises money to support local rec council baseball programs here in Harford County. Our Spring Classic tournament is this weekend. A lot of really great hard work has gone into it from our staff and the tournament directors, as well as the site hosts who have worked tirelessly over the last week to get their fields in tip-top shape to host baseball games. We're going to have 103 teams playing 192 games over 8 locations and 28 fields. It's going to be a lot of fun. I just wanted to tip the cap to everybody that's been working on it, and just a reminder that sometimes baseball is just fun.
You know what's good, by the way, for this week that we forgot to cover? Lack of rain and not having to pull a shop vac and a generator onto baseball fields.
I cannot tell you how much I am glad about that. I cannot tell you how glad my back is for that. And that is our show. Remember, you can find this in our entire catalog of indispensable episodes of BirdsEyeView Baltimore. BirdseyeViewBaltimore.com.
Bird's Eye View is available for download wherever it is you get your podcasts. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, and many others. Please remember to rate, review the show. We appreciate the feedback, and it encourages other people to listen for the first time.
Come and get social with us. You can find this all over the web at Bird's Eye View BAL, where we are social, like on Orioles Blue Sky. You can also email us at contact@birdseyeviewbaltimore.com. And with that, Baltimore and beyond, I will bid you all a fun adieu.
Good night, Baltimore. Be safe out there, and let's go O's.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.